out of the organic waste that you're collecting. Otherwise, the organic waste that you collect after 24 hours, which is then probably put in the compost after 36 hours, the quality of that gets impacted, and the quality of your end product is impacted, which is why it is not very widely used. Now, areas which have the system, and there is, I think, in Andhra Pradesh, there is a place, I'm not sure where, but there's a place where they collect waste twice in a day. So once in the morning and once in the evening. And that waste is composted, and it's very high quality and can be used and can be exported. It can be, it's a commercial product at that point. But waste which has been lying around for a while cannot be reused, really.
What about the other kinds of waste, like the dry waste and e-waste that Bangalore being the Silicon Valley of India? So why don't we try to implement the same, as in?
Why don't we export?
Yeah, e-waste, yes.
Well, because who would take it? I mean, what are the countries that would accept that?
Then why are we doing it?
I know. That's another debate why we're doing it. But the thing is that it's very hard to get another country to accept the waste, because there's a huge amount of, again, transport cost associated with it as well. Because you have to put it on barges and then send it off to, I don't know, Sri Lanka or wherever you're sending it off to. And we don't do that because it's not cost effective. That's the bottom line. And so we try to deal with all the waste at our own municipal level, which clearly we're not doing a very good job of. And I think the goal should be to manage your own waste. It should not be whether to get it from outside or to send it outside. The goal should be to manage it and try and become a zero waste society, so that at some point the input is equal to the output and it's all useful. So you're not throwing much away.
Is there any current facilities that's being implemented to, manage the e-waste and do things?
So with waste recycling and waste management, most of these are NGOs actually which deal with the recycled product or which deal with recycling, with paper, with even organic waste. A lot of the players that are in the industry today are NGOs. It's not a mainstream thing adopted by the government or the municipality. And I think that is where we are looking at, looking at them to, adopt it in some form, because with governance there are several issues. So if they take the waste and if they start recycling it, and if they sell it, then there's a huge debate about where does that revenue go, which department gets it, where do you spend it. To avoid all of that, they just shirk the responsibility and say, we are not going to do it. If there are other private parties or NGOs who are willing to do it, you can do it, and we don't have an issue, but we can't do it because we have these larger governance issues to deal with. So that's the unfortunate part. Again, it's something that needs to be changed probably at the legislation level, or it needs to be looked at from once you're generating revenues as a government, where should it be spent in an equitable manner. One would, the intuition would be to say, well, it needs to be spent back in the waste sector, or back with the BBMP. That's what you'd say, but that's not how governments function, unfortunately. Once there's a revenue in the general fund, then there's a huge, fight over who gets it. And so to avoid all of that, they just source it out to NGOs. And so there are many, many NGOs, and that's the good news. Very close to here, Freedom Park, there was a fair last year, I think it was, about waste and about recycling, and there were so many vendors. I was just amazed. There were at least 50 vendors who were converting organic waste into biofuel. There were 20 vendors who were doing it into compost and selling it. There were several vendors who were doing it with e-waste. There were many vendors who were doing it with plastics, and so the plastics, again, it goes back into making those polythene sheets or suitcases or whatever. I mean, the range of products was amazing. So there are many NGOs and there are smaller organizations who are doing that, but the government is not in that business.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I just have one question. I have noticed this in your PPT. You said that we need to have a relationship with the person who picks up our garbage. But every day, different people come and pick my garbage. I mean, I don't know who is working for PPM, who is not working. And every day I try to explain to them, this is the wet waste, this is the dry waste. I have explained the things at my place, and they have agreed to shift, making it two parts, wet waste and dry waste. At the end of the day, when they are picking it up, they are mixing it in the same bin. How do I handle it?
Well, and I guess that's the problem that we talked about, is that one of our suggestions was that instead of having different, port karmikas coming up and picking up your waste and every day, and you don't know who that person is, and you expect a different person showing up at your door every day, what we said was there needs to be consistency. So the port karmikas need to be assigned a locality or a street or whatever it is, where they are the go-to people for all questions or anything related to waste, where you can ask them where things need to go, where you can, probably tell them that I'm not going to be home on this day from this time to this time, so can you collect it at an alternate time? And so there is that relationship where you can, you can forge a relationship with the waste collector so that, your waste is managed and you don't have to keep it in your house. But that is what is not unfortunately happening. And the mixing of waste, again, it has to do with the lack of equipment. So although BBMP has put this law in place, it needs to be segregated, even two categories for wet waste and dry waste now. Many port karmikas, they just come with a hand push cart and they don't have the facility to actually segregate it into two portions. So again, it goes back to infrastructural issues, matching the policy recommendation and making sure that both of them are hand in hand, so that when you roll out a policy or a rule, you have the infrastructure in place to actually implement it.
Seems like a distant dream. I mean, it's literally closely imaginary, whatever you just said. But the government has implemented the same plan when it comes to keeping the street clean. Because weekly twice I have a lady approaching my father or my parents saying that I've just cleaned the street, the sign that you witnessed
Exactly.
it.
Yes.
Why can't they do it the same thing with garbage?
Exactly, and that was one of our suggestions, that you get signatures from everyone on the street when you pick up waste, that you've picked their waste up. See, the thing is, again, it's like not like it's a distant dream or something, because there are other places in India which are doing it and doing it very successfully. There are small towns which are doing it very successfully. There are cities which are doing it successfully. This is just, in Bangalore somehow the problem has been highlighted a lot more. It's not like other cities like Delhi or Bombay or Calcutta don't have these problems. In Bangalore it's been highlighted a lot more, it's got a lot of media attention because the public is more knowledgeable, so they talk more about it. The thing is to make it a government priority. That how do you go about making this a priority? Because the question is never that there isn't money or there isn't the manpower to carry out a certain regulation or a rule or to see it being fruitfully implemented. It's always a question of priority. And I think the more people talk about it, the more people make noise about it, that this is a problem, that's the only way to get your government's attention. I mean, you can talk to your corporator, you can talk to your ward representative, and you keep hammering it in. In Malleshwaram, we had a lady who was also fighting for elections, and she's a doctor, and she's very passionate about the cause of waste. And so in Malleshwaram, actually to a great extent, she would actually go door to door, talking to people, talking to waste collectors, talking to BBMP, and it did make a bit of an impact. So I think the most you can do is just talk to your representatives and keep, drilling it into them that this is a priority, this needs to be done. It's not like they can't do it. Let me assure you that they totally have the resources, they have the money, they have the manpower to do it. It's just a matter of will. It's just a matter of prioritizing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
I want to ask you about littering. Earlier, there used to be these huge cylindrical bins placed at road corners, and people used to throw the waste there. But nowadays, I don't see them anywhere. So people don't really have a place to throw their litter, so they just throw it on the roads. Why doesn't it come back?
Well, two things, which are actually pretty ridiculous reasons why they took it away. Because if you're in a market somewhere, or in any public area, you'd be hard-pressed to find a public waste bin. The reasons were two. One was that they were being vandalized or stolen, that people would actually unscrew them and take them home, which is ridiculous. And the second one was that it was being infested by rodents and it was causing, problems in terms of health, and people didn't want it because if there was a bin, there was a likelihood that there were some cockroaches or dogs or mice or something around it, and that was a problem. And collection, BBMP conveniently said that this cannot be collected because if it's a public garbage bin, they're responsible for it. Then that means that that's additional responsibility and work for them. to go and collect it, because this isn't the type of garbage that necessarily would be collected once in 2 days or 3 days. It would have to be collected every day, if not less, if not morning, evening. And so they just cited lack of manpower to do it, and they stopped doing it. And the result of which is that you don't have any public trash cans anymore.
But the problem seems to have increased. If they actually have people who collect it at a particular time every day, then there won't be overflowing of the bins, and the litter on the roads will lessen a lot.
Yes, right. I mean, common sense would say that, but they have been fighting this to the contrary. They've been saying, no, 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 we did that, and there were many problems, and so we are not going to do that.
Then what's their alternative solution to littering?
Keep the waste. If you are generating some kind of waste, you keep it with you in your bag until you get home and you can throw it. I mean, as odd as that sounds, but that is what it almost leads to, and that's what I have to do all the time. To keep me from littering, I just have to keep it in my purse or in my car until I get home and then dispose it. There's very little option otherwise.
That's the same thing I do, but sometimes it's really not
I
practical.
know.
I mean, if you eat an ice cream and you have to stuff it in your bag.
Yes, I know. It's very inconvenient, and that is, it's the reasons that they've given are very illogical, and it's ridiculous, quite frankly. But that, like I said, it's not a priority with them. I think with this Mandru landfill closing and finally saying no and no dumping, something good might come out of it. People might be forced to think about how they are functioning, and I think BBMP is going to be forced to prioritize this waste issue a little bit. So let's hope something good comes out of it.
Is there any way to pressurize them to bring the public dustbins?
Yes, you need to keep talking to and pressurizing your local representative or your ward representative, because these are the people who talk to them. These are the people actually who handle the money as well. So every ward has a fund. They have a certain amount of money which is supposed to be spent on this, for this. And although BBMP, for example, they don't have these public waste bins, but if your ward representative feels that it's important, they can actually install it in your ward. So the way to do it is to keep pressing upon it through your ward representative and telling them this is important, this needs to be done. Yeah. So I don't know, I mean, you sign a petition, or you take a collective group, or you take some representatives to his office or his home or whatever, and depending on how receptive they are, I think it's worth bringing it up. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a suggestion, like rainwater harvesting and all has been made compulsory for a certain dimension of this house where why can't we have it something like waste management, compost? Why can't we recycle or convert it into some other form of energy and reuse it back to ourselves?
Excellent, and your idea actually has already been taken into note. So what IIC has done is the Center for Science, the Center for Sustainable Technologies there, has come up with an equipment. So like you have a refrigerator at home for keeping your things cold, and like you have if you may have a microwave to heat your things in. So this is an apparatus in which you will throw in your organic waste, and it will basically convert it into biogas, which will feed your stove, which would be compatible with both the biogas and the LPG, thing. So what they're doing, IIC is right now in the process of, I mean, the product is there, they've patented it. The thing is that now someone needs to do a market study of how viable a product like this would be, because it would require a little bit of work on your part. It's not like you put in the waste and you forget about it. It's you would have to add water, and then once in a month or something clean the apparatus. So it requires a fair bit of work on the part of the individuals. But we are looking to market a product like this, which would be a household level thing, like an equipment which, like you feel like you grew up with the refrigerator and it was always there, you didn't have to think about it. Again, this will become a part of your daily life where it will just be there, and the house design will incorporate it. Like you'll have it in your balcony, and that will feed your stove, and so there will be something productive coming out of it. Yeah.
Actually, it's not a new idea, because wherever in the village side and all I've seen, the goga gas,
Yes.
biogas management, they have been doing
Yes.
it. So we can do it in a smaller level.
Yes, actually the village side it's easier, and also in towns it's easier because the space is more. Over here, because people live in smaller spaces. Many of them live in these apartment complexes a lot. So you have to find a design which is suitable for that small space. So something that can be a part of your balcony but not take up the whole balcony, for example. So have a compact enough design that can be owned and operated at the household level by your maid or whoever.
Thank you.
Thanks.
One more thing.
Yeah.
We see a lot of cows around eating from the garbage. Can't it be done so that kitchen waste is collected separately and the people who own these cows come and collect it so that they can feed them?
Okay. So you're talking about like in the city?
Yeah, in the city. Because this is already being done in some small towns. In my native place in Kerala, they do it. So it
So they
works.
have a communal organic waste.
No, they just collect it in a bin or a bucket at home, all the kitchen waste.
Yeah.
And every day a person comes, the owner of the cows, and they take it back for the animals. So they don't have to let them out and they don't eat it from the garbage.
That's excellent. That's an excellent idea. So I think one of the things is if you have this decentralized kind of a facility at the ward level or at the neighborhood level, and instead of composting all the waste, you could have a section where some of this is the organic waste is being, as is given out as feed, as cattle feed. But again, like I said, it only lasts for 12 hours until it's edible, because after that the cow also can't eat it. So it would mean that your collection frequency is greater, or that you're, doing it first thing in the morning and
Yeah, it has to
And
be
take it.
collected within the
yeah. No, but that's a great idea. Yeah. Thanks. Any other ideas? Anything else?
Ma'am, one of the major waste produced is plastic, right? So, is there any idea to dispose plastic in an efficient way? Like we cannot burn them or bury them. So we can recycle them, but not to complete efficiency. So, is there any other form? Like, can we generate energy out of it? Energy from waste.
Plastic, as far as I know, I don't think there's been any kind of fuel extraction from plastics at the commercial level. There has been, there are these companies which have made machines which can handle plastics like wrappers or your potato chip, the little pouches and all that, the thin grade plastic, and that has been turned into fuel, and that is being used commercially. I want to say in the Infosys office. That they do that and they have that machine. But for like thicker grade plastic, because I think plastics have, there are like 14 categories of plastics. So for this thin kind of plastics, you can do it, you can have the fuel, but for the thicker plastics, I don't think there has been any kind of a commercially viable alternative or a fuel which can be, then reused. The best that can be done is that you recycle the plastic into pellets, and then those pellets go into, for example, making chairs or suitcases or other plastic products. So that's the best use.
Whatever we do, there will be some plastic left out. So, for example, when you have to clean a site before we build a house, there will be so much of plastic that we gain. So, what do we do with that? We cannot dump them anywhere because there will be no use.
No, so if you're required to segregate into the two categories, so once you're putting your organic waste aside, and then the dry waste, you should put your plastics there, for example, and that goes to BBMP. Right now, at the moment, they're not really doing anything, but there are a lot of, for example, in Domlur, there's an agency, and it's been, WasteWise, I think, has been the agency which has spawned this NGO, which basically go door to door, and they buy plastics from you on a per kg basis, and they're doing this in an area in Domlur where they go around, they buy the plastics and they pay you for it, and there's a cost depending on the grade of the plastic, and then they recycle it because it's of value. It generates products, other products. So some areas are doing it, but like I said, this is something that's only happening at the NGO level. It's not really happening at the municipal level yet.
Share
Yes.
something?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, when I stayed in Japan for some time, what they did is they took plastics, metal, and all the debris, all their waste, which they had generated a lot of it. They compressed all of the waste, compressed it into huge cubes. Like in Dubai, you find artificial islands, so there they needed more land. So they used all these cubes and they stacked them all up in the ocean, and then created artificial land over the plastic and metal pellets which they had got from all cans, waste, plastic, etc. It's an idea.
Wow, I mean, I think India could do with some more land as well, but I don't know where we'd put it, where we'd get that, but
It'd be very costly rather than
yeah.
hardly economic.
Yeah.
Indian government.
Well, in China as well, they've made entire buildings out of recycled materials. They've made this, there are these modular buildings, which basically you can have a 10-story building constructed in a matter of, 1 week. And they have these modular buildings and they are made entirely of recycled materials. So yes, I mean the technology is there. Like I said, the technology is there. It's a matter of habits and it's a matter of prioritizing. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Today, in this session, you have come here to share what you have and taken opinions from others. Does the BBMP do such things, as in approaching students or approaching people who really want to bring about change, youngsters? Go have a public discussion, take opinions from them. Does the BBMP do such things? Even if they take opinions from their advisors, probably the mayor has a few advisors. Are they really open to suggestions from either organizations or from the company?
Well, again, see, the crowdsourcing of ideas, that's a step in governance that I think we're not at. BBMP is certainly not at that point. If you talk to BBMP officials, they will always cite lack of personnel. Okay, and so they'll say that we barely have enough people to do the basic functions that we have been assigned to do. So all these additional things that you're asking us to do, for example, create a website for like crowdsourcing ideas. We don't have anyone to do it, And again, I think it's a matter of priority, not really the fact that they don't have the money or the personnel. So no, at this point they're not open to doing that. That is something that would happen or should happen. If you've heard of Janagraha, that's an NGO based out of Bangalore, and they have a website, it's called I Paid a Bribe. And over there what you can do is post, pictures of, a time that an official has asked you for a bribe or anything that's wrong with the city in the civic sense, in terms of the governance. And that's like supposed to be a crowdsourcing of ideas. That's also supposed to be a source where, the officials can look at it and, know that these are problem areas or these are areas that need to be addressed. So I don't know if there's someone sitting within BBMP who looks at these things. But again, it's the NGOs who are doing this, if at all. BBMP is not. But yes, it's a very useful tool in these days and ages and times that you take ideas from all your citizens. A lot of them, everybody has something to contribute, irrespective of their age, education level, everybody has something to contribute and a lot of it could be very useful. So no, we just do it because we are advisors to the BBMP. And being the Institute of Science, we just like to hear about ideas, other ideas that are probably floating out there. Some of you may have actually created, you all are engineers, you all might have created an apparatus which can handle, some of our problems. So that's why we like to go out and hear about these things, but it's not the channel that BBMP uses as such, unfortunately. That's it? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here and thank you for listening to this. I think this is a topic that I'm personally very passionate about and every opportunity that I get to discuss waste with people, I don't let that go. So I hope some of you can take these ideas home, and we've heard some very good ideas from you all as well, which we'll also, incorporate in our studies with due credit to all of you and to this organization. And if there's ever any question that you have, or if there's anything that you want to participate in us with, please do reach out. Thank you.
Waste auditing, collection, segregation, management, recycling. Most of them are the key issues of our society today and the need of the hour. Thank you so much, ma'am, for that interactive, informative and enlightening talk. And thank you all for so many of you here who have given great ideas. Thank you all of you. And I would like to request you, ma'am, to please accept a small token of gratitude. And a small note to all of you, there's a person here called Srinivas from an NGO based out of Bangalore named Maridi. He has an idea about the issues and kinds of these processes related to waste management going on in BBMP. So if you guys have any such queries or ideas or whatever, you can actually directly talk to him also. He's actually present there. He's there. You can actually talk to that person. Thank you.